rozhodně skutečně napínavé.
Time for another exchange analysis. We're going to do a little bit of a throwback for this one. So I have two exchanges from the final match of Tiernail 2017, and this was between Thomas Couturier of France and Martin Fabian of Slovakia. So at that time, Thomas was ranked 13th and Martin was ranked second in the world. So Thomas is on the left here, and he is a left-handed fencer and fences with his left foot forward and his point forward. And Martin's fencing right foot forward, and in this exchange, he's kind of using a kind of low guard, but for all intents and purposes, it's mostly point forward. So as a left-handed fencer, if you're in a left-handed versus right-handed situation, your point is, and this goes for both people, but the left-hander will have more experience with it. So your point is kind of pointed towards your opponent's right forearm. And the right forearm tends to be very difficult to defend, especially if you are a user of that right foot forward, point forward position. And Thomas, in his time, was known for making extensive use of this type of action. So a short action to the right forearm. And if you watch the full match, you can see him doing it very often. Though it doesn't hit a lot, but he uses it to set up other stuff most of the time. So here's an example of how he uses it to set up his final hit. So in the first exchange, Thomas is on the attack. Martin, he's holding his sword a little bit low, and say Thomas comes in with his first swing. Martin steps back, picks up his tip to defend, and then they reset. So here comes the second one. Same thing, same exact response. Martin catches the blade a little bit this time, but for all intents and purposes, it's the same thing. He brings up his sword to defend, steps back, and so then there's one more little probing. This one's kind of just, there's not much to that. That's kind of obviously not an attack. So now the stage is set for the final action. So Thomas has gotten the same response 3 times from Martin. He's going to be stepping back, raising his sword to defend, and then resetting. Martin maybe has it in his head that he knows these attacks aren't real and he can spend his time setting something else up. So what happens is Thomas steps in, fake attack, real attack, and he gets it. So another thing to note with this final attack, we can see, like I talked about in my previous video, you can see he lands his foot first and then lands the attack. And because of that, he's able to immediately step out and escape anything that Martin would be doing after this. So in this case, it didn't matter because his initial hit, but if he had gotten parried or if he had missed, then this would have maybe saved him from a riposte. So the second one is the final exchange in the match. And Thomas doesn't do any cuts to the arm specifically in this exchange, but the threat of the arm cut sets the stage for what's about to come. So Thomas is 1 point away from winning, and because of his constant harassment of the right arm, it's difficult for Martin to get close. A deep attack is also risky because a lot of times they'll award 1 point each for a double, and that would just give Thomas the win. So his options are limited. He doesn't want to go deep, and it's difficult for him to get close. So he's kind of forced into this situation where he has to attack from a little bit further than he maybe is comfortable doing, and he's doing it to a shallow target, which of course is that, on a left-hander, that left hand, which is something that Thomas probably has the advantage in because it's a left-hander versus right-hander situation. So just from a mechanical standpoint, real quick, an interesting thing to note about this parry is Thomas slips his leg whenever he parries, and he does this earlier in the match as well. If you want to go back and watch the whole match, which I recommend. And I'm not sure exactly how he trained that, but if I had to guess, it would be because he learned fencing in the Paraseam Open scene, and a feint to the leg is very common there. So he may have picked up the habit of always slipping the leg whenever he does a parry like this, which is kind of cool. All right, so that's all for this time. Thanks for watching.
Posledný bod. Rozhodne skutočne albínavé. Dekapitáciou.